Got to say now, the way the Biden administration is conducting this war is utterly incoherent. Right now, Joe Biden is asking for $24 billion to go to Ukraine to fight the war, but simultaneously, they're announcing that they sent $16 billion to Iran. Iran is using that money to make drones, and those drones are going to Russia, and the Russians are using them to kill Ukrainians.
Well,
and so
Senator,
the Biden administration is funding both sides of the war.
It's not $16 billion. It's $6 billion. And it's Iranian funds. It's Iranian funds that were in South Korea, which Iran made that money when they got waivers from the Trump administration to sell oil and gas. We saw similar versions of these kind of funds being used, whether it was in India, whether it was in Japan, under the Trump administration. But I'm confused about how sanctions with Putin caused a war with Ukraine. At the same time, it's Republicans in the House who are concerned about sending more aid to Ukraine. How do you really thread the needle there between the two? If you don't agree with the Biden administration is doing, do you agree with your House Republicans?
So let me break down what you said, because there were a number of things you said that were incorrect. Number one, you're right that what they announced this week was $6 billion in a hostage exchange for 5 hostages, but that follows 2 weeks after they released $10 billion that came from Iraq to Iran. So in total, it's $16 billion that in the last couple of weeks they have flowed into the Ayatollah's coffers. And what this is a part of is essentially the Biden's administration to re-enter an Iran nuclear deal. I think this is a down payment on that nuclear deal. And let's be clear, I don't care if this was Iran's money or not. The Ayatollah Khamenei is the leading state sponsor of terrorism in the world, is responsible for murdering hundreds of Americans, hundreds of our allies, and he routinely leads mobs in chanting death to America and death to Israel. And it is a bizarre political obsession of the Biden White House to want to send him tens of billions of dollars. It is a 100% certainty this money that they're sending to Iran will be used to fund terrorism to kill Americans. Americans will die. Not only that, by paying ransom, they're effectively setting a bounty of $3 billion a person on Americans. We will see future American hostages from Iran and from other nations because of this deal. But when it comes to Ukraine, it's also utterly incoherent, because this money is going to drones that Iran is producing, and Iran is the #1 weapons supplier to Russia. So the Biden administration is funding the drones that are being used to kill Ukrainian soldiers and Ukrainian citizens. The funds are being used for humanitarian aid, Senator. I'm going to give it over to Joe, but the funds are being used for humanitarian aid. You are wrong in that.
And it's happened over the course of the prior administration.
You're repeating talking points well, but they're factually incorrect.
What's up, everybody? This is We Talk Freely. My name is Drew Smith, and Ted Cruz right there just kind of laying into this woman. I forget who it is that he's talking to, but laying down some facts. And if you guys find anything different than what he said, please let me know. I'm going to be holding up my mic because I'm trying to be a little quiet. We're recording today's episode pretty late compared to what I normally do. So I'm trying to be respectful to the other people in this house, but still wanted to get something up. A lot of news to cover today. I'm going to try to rapid fire through this and make this a shorter episode, because like I said, it's pretty late when I'm doing this recording. But there's a lot of stuff to go over. I really want to get it out there because I know come Wednesday we're going to have a whole new list of news articles to go through, and I don't want to have to play catch up tomorrow. So let's get into this, man. You heard what Ted Cruz was saying there about the billions of dollars that are going into Ukraine, or not into Ukraine, but into other countries for war, making these drones. And, you know, it makes me wonder, and I'm actually going to go a little bit out of order here. because when I think about all of this that's going on, it makes me think about what's going on in Hawaii. We saw that the Biden administration had $1.9 million for everybody in Hawaii, 1.9 million, which I think translated to roughly $700 per person. And then we saw like Oprah Winfrey and The Rock. They had generated way more money. They pledged together something like $10 million to help the people there in Maui. And then with that, I think they, as of a couple days ago, they had raised an initial $800,000 to go on that, which doesn't seem like a lot, but I mean, it's when you add that to what they did, that's 10,800,000. That's a lot more than what's coming from our federal government. And I was talking to a friend of mine about this today, and he was just like, well, I don't know if we really need to be spending all that kind of money down there in Hawaii. But I'm like, dude, we're spending over $100 billion on war, and we can't help the individual taxpayers, the people that are actually contributing to our country. That just doesn't seem right to me. Again, I'll lean back on it. What is $700 a person going to do for somebody who literally lost their home, lost their jobs, lost their livelihood, lost everything that they had to these devastating fires? What is that going to do for them? And everybody's been giving Oprah and The Rock a lot of crap for what they're doing. But, at least it's something. You got to give a little credit where credit's due. Yes, they're asking for money from people during a really downed economy right now, and that does seem kind of shallow because she's continuing to go out there and make her millions upon millions, maybe even billions of dollars. And, that's another conversation to be had. But the fact that they did come out and they are raising money for these victims, I will give them some respect for that much. I really do wish, however, they would have done the same fundraiser, but instead of targeting individuals that are struggling, like the regular everyday American, I wish they would have reached out to more famous people, more people that have a lot of wealth, people that have yachts and stuff like that. They probably should have circulated that video through them first and then let that bleed out into the public. And if the public wanted to chip in, they could. But they should have called out like names of people, of very wealthy movie stars or maybe musicians or sports players or CEOs of companies, things like that. People that actually do have the breathing room to contribute. That would have been great. But, here's an article from Hawaii News Now, and it says millions have poured in for Maui wildfire victims. Here's how much has been distributed. Now, in this article, it kind of goes over that things are still being held up a little bit, but let me read what they have to say. Millions of dollars have poured in to help residents who lost everything in the Maui wildfires. Many are wondering, where has all that money gone? The biggest pot of donations is over $110 million in the Hawaii Community Foundation's Maui Strong Fund. Over 4 weeks later, they've given out nearly $19 million to nonprofits. Quote, "We've seen major tragedies, but major acts of compassion. A community that's come together like never before," said Micah Kane, the CEO of Hawaii Community Foundation. Maui United Way has raised over $10 million. About half of that has already gone to more than 5,000 victims through a one-time $1,000 payment. See, already better than the federal government, already better than what the Biden administration has offered to their own people. Quote, "The urgency is always there. It couldn't come out fast enough," said Nicholas Winfrey of Maui United Way. "We're working around the clock. I was sleeping at my office. Everyone was all hands on deck." MMA star Lee McFarland raised $2.6 million on Instagram for Maui relief efforts. Quote, "When people start coming at me, when I'm like doing everything I can to get this money to the families," McFarland said, "but I just want to reassure everybody that the money is not even in my hands yet." McFarland says Meta has not yet to release the funds. I wonder why that is. And there's a photo of The Rock and Oprah in the video that they did trying to fundraise. I don't know if y'all have seen, she did that one interview where, she was saying, or the interviewer was saying that she has been slandered in all of this and yada, yada, yada. There's an open conversation to have about this. And I would like to, I want to do a live thing here soon, and maybe this could be one of the subjects that we could do a live back and forth with, where I have viewers come onto the show, or not like literally come here, but do a video conference in or something. Maybe we can sit here and talk about it, because they didn't have to do what they did, and they did put out a lot of money for the people of Maui. I thought it was very wild that everyone just came out angry at them. Yeah, it's a money-making opportunity, but literally that's what Oprah has done her entire career. Why is it suddenly on this instance a horrible thing? When Oprah was giving out cars and stuff to people on her show, having people cry on her set and do all this, she was still doing this exact same thing. Now it's just people caught in a fire instead of like all the other thousands of tragedies that she did on her show every single day. Now it's a problem, and I'm not defending her or anything of that, but at the same time, I got to call out the BS where I see it. That's what she's made her entire career off of, is a tragedy. Talking about chaos, and some of the episodes were about victory, but there's been a lot of tragedy on our show in the past. Maybe we have a little understanding. But moving on, in addition to Oprah Winfrey and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's personal donation of $10 million to the People's Fund of Maui, about $800,000 has been raised online. Winfrey and Johnson promised to give $1,200 a month to fire victims. Their team says so far over 2,200 applicants have fully verified and will be notified this week about disbursement going directly into their bank account, with more being verified each day. Wildfire survivors can still apply for the People's Fund of Maui online, and nonprofits are still accepting donations. Meanwhile, what's our federal government doing? We got all this fundraising and everything else going on to help these people, and our federal government has got billions of dollars to go into the automotive industry. Like right here from energy.gov, Biden-Harris administration announces $15.5 billion to support a strong and just transition to electric vehicles, retooling existing plants and rehiring existing workers. I talked about this on a previous episode. If you go in, and I'll put all the links to these articles below, but they are putting money into redoing EV facilities, EV manufacturing, all in the middle of when there's a giant automotive strike. Like, this kind of hurts my head. It's almost like the strike is happening just in time for them to get these grants, to get these billions of dollars and redo the factories when they would be down anyways. It kind of seems all weird and coordinated. Call that my little conspiracy theory that I have here, but it's kind of wild. $15.5 billion. How is it that we have $15.5 billion for making electric vehicles, but we only have 1.9 million with an M to help the people of Hawaii, the people that pay taxes into our entire nation's economy? That seems like the Biden administration priorities are way out of whack on this one. Instead of people getting mad at The Rock and Oprah Winfrey, for doing this fundraiser video here, I think they need to be coming at the Biden-Harris administration for funding electric vehicle retoolments for private companies. That's a huge waste of money, in my opinion. Before I go ranting on too much further, let's move forward. From the Post-Millennial here, we've got an article saying, Chicago considers creation of government-operated grocery store. Are you ready for government cheese to make it back on the main scene? You know, for my younger viewers, you may not have heard people talk about government cheese so much, but I remember growing up, everyone talking about this from the old Great Recession and stuff like that. Kind of shows a little bit of my age. In this article, it says that Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson has revealed that the city will be partnering with the Economic Security Project to explore the creation of a government-owned grocery store in order to assist historically underserved communities. Quote, all Chicagoans deserve to live near convenient, affordable, healthy grocery options. We know access to grocery stores is already a challenge for many residents, especially on South and West Sides, said Mayor Brandon Johnson, according to an office press release. Quote, a better, stronger, safer future is one where our youth and our communities have access to the tools and resources they need to survive. My administration is committed to advancing innovative whole-of-government approaches to address these inequities. I am proud to work alongside partners to take this step in envisioning what a municipality-owned grocery store in Chicago would look like. Well, honestly, what's that going to look like? It's going to look like a grocery store with very, very low and very low quality foods, government cheese, as we used to call it back in the day. And these grocery stores are going to still deal with the exact same problems that we're seeing with Walmart and all the other grocery providers in the area already. The only difference is when all that crime and everything happens to these stores, because it's government funded, they won't be able to just uproot and leave. So basically what you're going to have is a small portion of taxpayers spending more money to the government, and then you're going to have a huge portion of people that have already been committing these crimes to these stores to make them want to go away. They're going to still be going in there and committing these crimes. And is Mayor Brandon Johnson going to start tacking on the whole committing a crime on government property thing there in Chicago? Is that really what the angle is at the end of the day? Because what it looks like is that they're setting up residents for more jail time in a society of people that voted for defund the police and talking about how government, unfairly targeted certain groups of people. Now it looks like they're kind of setting up an entrapment situation here where they're putting people into government crime now where it used to just be private crime. The real solution to all of this is to fix the economy, to fix what's going on, to get more police in the area, actually prosecute theft. If people don't fear any consequences for stealing anything anymore. I think it was in California that as long as it's under $1,000, they're not even going to press charges. They're not going to investigate or even go after it. That's why we're seeing this kind of stuff. That's why these grocery stores, places like Walmart, all these private businesses, that's literally why they're leaving. Creating a government grocery store, it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to stop people from wanting to steal. It's not going to incentivize them to go spend money that they don't have in the first place, regardless of what you think. But like I said, I'll be posting all these links. There's a lot more going into this article. Read over it. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Next up we have Real Clear Politics, and they're talking about the automotive strike that everybody's been hearing about. There's a video on this one, and I'm going to play it for you. You guys let me know what you think.
Quickly put in some perspective, the offer that they have, what they're demanding relative to where you are right now, how much damage would that do to the bottom line if you were to say, sure, we'll give you 40%?
If we signed up for the UAW's request, instead of making money and distributing $75,000 in profit sharing in the last 10 years, we would have lost $15 billion and gone bankrupt by now. The average pay would be nearly $300,000 fully fringed for a 4-day work week. There is no way.
Per employee, per UAW employee.
Yeah. This is our fully tenured school teacher in the U.S. makes $66,000. Someone from the military or fireman makes mid-50,000. This is 4 or 5 times, 6 times what they make. There's no way we can be sustainable as a company. That's why we put our proposal in 2 weeks ago to say, look, you want us to choose bankruptcy over supporting our workers? Here's our proposal. Let's work through this. We've heard nothing.
So that's exactly what we were talking about in the previous article there. When we talk about the government grocery stores, he's the solution here is not raising pay rates and the things that these unions are looking for. The solution in all of this is to restore the value back to the dollar. If somebody's getting paid $60,000 and now their paycheck goes twice as far as it used to, then they're not upset about their $60,000. If a teacher that is making $30,000 to $50,000, excuse me, is their money goes twice as far, they're not as upset about it. If gas was back down to like $1, if it only cost $100,000 to buy a really nice home, things like that, then people aren't mad about their pay rates. But what do we see? All over this country, for the past like 5-6 years, we've been talking about raising the minimum wage, and then we finally got it up to $15 an hour. And what happened after it went to $15 an hour? Look at the prices of everything. I just went to the grocery store today and I spent about $110 and I couldn't fill half my grocery cart. And I even had 3 cases of soda in it because I've got soda addicts here at the house. But with 3 cases of soda in my grocery cart, $110 still didn't even halfway fill it. Like, that's the problem. The dollar is becoming worthless. So even if the Ford CEO said, okay, we'll do $300,000 a year, and you got California out there for fast food workers talking about, I think it was like $25 or $30 an hour minimum for those kind of jobs. You can keep raising these pay rates up as high as you want, but the only thing that's going to happen is the value of the dollar is going to keep dropping. And so it's going to take more and more and more and more money to buy the same simple things. The average item that I purchased today at the grocery store was roughly, when I averaged out my entire ticket, it was almost $7 per item for every item in my cart. That means my 1 box of cereal, which wasn't even a big box of cereal, was $7. Everything has gotten so ridiculously expensive. And so I understand why the UAW is asking for such an astronomical amount. They're trying to get their staff members somewhere close to that number so that they can live comfortably again. I get it. But at the same time, if Ford has to pay out, or GM, or Dodge, or anybody, any of these companies have to pay out that kind of money to staff their companies, what do you think is going to happen to the price of a car? Do you think the cars are going to still be $50,000 to $70,000 a car? No, these cars are then going to go up to like $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a car just to be able to cover all of this stuff. And of course, you got to give a lot of these employees benefits like health benefits, retirement, stock options, all that good stuff. All that's going to cost a ridiculous amount of money. This isn't, you can't just turn a $60,000 employee into a $300,000 employee and not expect the people to suffer. It's madness, just complete madness. And I don't understand where these companies get their math from. Just before I go off of here, I'll read what they said on CNBC. CEO Ford explained that explained the cost of the UAW's demands in the strike. The average pay would be nearly $300,000 for a 4-day work week per employee. There's no way we could be sustainable as a company. That's why we put our proposal in 2 weeks ago to say, look, you want us to choose bankruptcy or supporting our workers. And that's what I was exactly talking about. You know, that they will go bankrupt. You'll lose all those jobs. You won't have the money coming in. And so what happens to those people? What happens to all these employees that are out there striking right now? They're obviously not making money. And so that's going to put more of a drag on our financial system or on our economy. More tax dollars are going to have to go to help these people. And if you keep having all these companies going on strike or all these companies closing doors, eventually you're not going to have any taxpayers anymore. And we're all going to have to go back to the whole government grocery stores on every corner and the government cheese. So be prepared to deal with a lot of this madness, you know, especially what Ford is having to deal with here. Hopefully we'll survive. Hopefully we can get a better president in and better government in that understands how all of this works. And the big thing is restoring that value back to the dollar. And if we can get that value back to the dollar, we won't be seeing wild stuff like this anymore. So let's move on. So from the conservative brief, media ramps up pressure on McCarthy over January 6th tapes. Now, I thought this was very interesting here. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy released over 40,000 hours of unseen footage from the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, to former Fox News host Tucker Carlson earlier this year. Now pressure is mounting on McCarthy over the Jan 6 tapes because he gave Carlson access to the footage earlier this year. McCarthy has promised to give the public and media access to the tapes after his team reviews all the footage to address any potential security concerns. This is the challenge. The Democrats told us it was only 14,000 hours of tapes. Lo and behold, we take the majority and it's 42,000 hours. So that would take me years to go all the way through. Yeah, I think the public should see what happened to them. We've worked with Capitol Police to tell us about any section that there was a problem, and that takes a long time, but we want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to come and see what they want, McCarthy said. So we've created the process to make that start happening. Rep. Clay Higgins, a Louisiana Republican who appeared on the podcast The Benny Show, recently demanded the release of the footage. I'm one of the ones pushing for the release, by the way, of all the January 6th video, Higgins said. We've got 60,000 hours of video from January 4th, 5th, and 6th. I want it all released to the American people so we can crowdsource that investigation. That's the smart move right there. It's already been breached. All that information has already been compromised. There's no reason to really hold it back. I understand that there's probably addresses and names on documents and things like that. So what needs to happen is for every hour that is reviewed, it needs to instantly go out at that moment. Like more and more time needs to just be released every single day. More information needs to be going out at every moment. I'm sure there's some things that they can say, can automatically go out, like maybe parking lot footage or something of that nature. I don't know, but there's got to be clumps of footage that can go ahead and get released now and get that stress off of the Republicans in the investigation, get that stress off of their back, and give the people something to start working on. Because I'll tell you that there's no better investigator out there than the public. When you get millions of eyes on it, you'll get all kinds of unique things turned up that you never thought about before. I think this is a slow roll. I think this is McCarthy literally stalling. I don't believe that there's a security issue on this that hasn't already been breached. We had thousands of people that ended up going into the Capitol building. People were in the offices and going through all the paperwork, taking pictures, putting that stuff up on Twitter and everything. It's already out there. So, in my personal opinion, just go ahead and release it. It could mean the difference between Trump and the other 18 defendants in Georgia going free or not. Who knows? There's just so much involved in this. And yeah, it's what, 42,000 hours or 60,000 hours in total? There's no way the investigation team is going to be able to go through all of that and censor everything that needs to be properly censored anyways. There's no way. So just go ahead and release it. Let it go. Let the people have that video. Otherwise, you're just dragging feet and hoping that something happens in the meantime. I highly suggest going back through. Like I said, I want to rapidly move through all this. There's a lot more stuff in this article. Like I said, the link will be in the video below. Let me know what you think about this. Do you think the videotape should be released now, or do you think that they should go take the time to go through 60,000 hours before they release it to the public? Do you believe that they've had enough time already? Let me know down below. Next up, we've got Hunter Biden suing the IRS over whistleblowers, embarrassing testimony to Congress. Are you kidding me? We can sue for whistleblowers embarrassing us now? Well, I guess you can sue a ham sandwich here in the United States, so why not? According to the Post-Millennial here, on Monday, Hunter Biden's attorneys filed a lawsuit against the International Revenue Service, accusing a number of agents of having attempted to target and embarrass him. Yeah, they are targeting him because he broke the law in their eyes. You know, we're still yet to see it in court and everything, but they saw something that violated the rules, violated the law, and they wanted to bring it out. That's the whole point of whistleblowing. If this actually gains traction as a lawsuit, we're doomed. We're doomed. Among those named are Gary Shapley and Joseph Ziegler, whistleblowers who testified before the House Oversight Committee and provided statements to the media regarding limitations they faced while investigating the young Biden's tax case, suggesting that the Department of Justice had gone out of its way to protect him. According to Fox News, the lawsuit alleges that the IRA, via Shapley, Ziegler, and a host of others, willfully, knowingly, and or by gross negligence, unlawfully disclosed Mr. Biden's confidential tax information. It cites the pair's status as whistleblowers as a fact that cannot and does not shield them from their wrongful conduct in making unauthorized public disclosures that are not permitted by the whistleblower process. Y'all, this is wild. The first son is asking for the court to affirm the aforementioned statement and require that the agency pay him $1,000 for each and every unauthorized disclosure of his tax returns. Quote, Biden is the son of the President of the United States, the lawsuit reads. He has all the same responsibilities as any other American citizen, and the IRS can and should make certain that he abides by those responsibilities. Similarly, Mr. Biden has no fewer or lesser rights than any other American citizen, and no government agency or government agent has free rein to violate his rights simply because of who he is. The lawsuit goes on to suggest that the IRS and its agents have conducted themselves under a presumption that the rights that apply to every other American citizen do not apply to Mr. Biden. Biden was slapped with misdemeanor charges related to his failure to pay federal taxes on over $1.5 million in 2017 and 2018. He nearly reached a sweetheart plea deal in July, but was dropped when his attorneys were not able to secure full blanket immunity on Biden on any future charges. And I think that's all from the Post-Millennial there. But yeah, you can go read it for yourself in the links down below. This is wild. Resist the Mainstream even has something about this, you know, and this is a response from the whistleblowers. And it says, on Monday, his legal team announced a rare lawsuit Let's see here. Let me go down. So I don't need to reread everything we already know. Okay, so in the response it says, an attorney for Shapley responded to the suit saying, that, quote, this suit is against the IRS is just another frivolous smear by the Biden family attorneys trying to turn people's attention away from Hunter Biden's own legal problems and intimidate any current or future whistleblowers. Right on the nose, y'all. Right on the nose on that one. That's what he's trying to do. He's, you know, and we see with Democrats all the time, they just keep throwing lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit until they can bankrupt somebody into losing their own cases. You know, that's why, you know, people like you and me, we have no chance when going up against people like this. This is how they take the power away from the people, by using their ultimate wealth, their gross amount of wealth, against people who can't afford it. Somebody working for the IRS may have some money, but they don't have that kind of money to go up against. And so, yeah, this is scaring whistleblowers. If you only make $100,000 a year, can you go up against somebody who's making millions in legal fees? Especially somebody with like the Biden last name. Do you really think that a regular IRS agent is going to be able to sustain a legal battle against these? This is going to be interesting, and I really hope that the judge will come through and make proper decisions and throw this ridiculous lawsuit out. You know, if Biden broke the law, then he needs to be called out for it. I don't care who you are, because I know if I was in trouble with the IRS, I wouldn't be getting any special treatment. Would you? Let me know down below. Let's move forward. So y'all heard about this F-35 jet that got lost in the air. This is wild. I'm going to let y'all see this video real quick, especially because it comes from a news agency here in my hometown. So represent Benny Johnson. Appreciate it. You know, giving our town a little bit of love on this one. Check this article out from WJCL.
But we begin tonight with breaking news. Military officials say they're responding to a, quote, mishap involving an F-35 fighter jet. Officials say the pilot of an F-35 Lightning II ejected from the jet and landed safely, but the search is on now for the missing F-35. They don't know where it is and are asking the public for help. Publicly available flight data shows SLED flying over Lake Moultrie near Charleston. If you know anything, call Joint Base Charleston at 843-963-3600.
Yo, how do we lose an entire plane? Well, this news is a little bit out of date because apparently they found it. There's actually a debris field. This is from Just the News I found not too long before I did this episode. It says military officials have identified a debris field in South Carolina during their search for an F-35 that went missing on Sunday. Quote, personnel from Joint Base Charleston and Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort, in close coordination with local authorities, have located a debris field in Williamsburg County. The debris was discovered 2 hours northeast of JB Charleston. A statement from the Joint Base Charleston. Teams from JB Charleston, the 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing out of MCAS Cherry Point Navy Region Southeast, the FAA, the Civil Air Patrol, as well as local county and state law enforcement across South Carolina have been working together to locate the U.S. Marine Corps F-35B. It continued. The statement further advised community members to steer clear of the debris field while recovery team was on the premises. How? This is like one of our top fighter jets. Like, how did we lose this thing? How did this happen? I'm very interested to see the details on all of this. It's insanely wild. I don't have much more to report on it, honestly. I would love to have all kinds of speculation, but I don't want to get into like conspiracy. But I'll tell you, a couple of the people that I talked to about this, before the wreckage was found, a few people that I talked to today actually said, their conspiracy, their tinfoil hat theory, is that somebody hacked into this jet and took it over, kind of like drone flew it somewhere or something of the sort. Obviously, that's not what happened because it crashed or whatever, or maybe it did and it just wasn't done well. I don't know. We're going to see what the details are, but that's a scary thought to be having. This part's all opinion, and none of what I'm saying about it being hacked has any base in any kind of fact or any kind of evidence whatsoever. But that's something to think about, as our military equipment is becoming more computerized and more technology is being added in. What's the chances of it being hacked? I think about the way government does things, and they want to give our soldiers the best equipment possible that they can use in the battlefield, but at the same time, growing up in a military town here, I know that they like to cut a lot of corners whenever they can. So what's to say technology security isn't lacking on these things too? I mean, they may be the best operating vehicles on the planet or something of that sort, but are they the most secure? Let me know what you know down below, and let me know what your theories are on this whole thing. That's wild. All right, moving on. Last episode, we talked about what was going on with Russell Brand, and one of the things that really caught my ear today was the interview that he did on Bill Maher. Now, I'm going to let you guys play this, and let me know if this is why you think they might be coming after him. There's a chance that the allegations could be true, but if they're not true allegations, if the accusations are false, is this why they're going after Russell Brand here? Sorry.
Pandemic created at least 40 new big pharma billionaires. Pharmaceutical corporations like Moderna and Pfizer made $1,000 of profit every second from the COVID-19 vaccine. More than two-thirds of Congress received campaign funding from pharmaceutical companies in the 2020 election. Pfizer chairman Albert Bourla told Time magazine, pandemic created at least 40 new big pharma billionaires. Pharmaceutical corporations like Moderna and Pfizer made $1,000 of profit every second from the COVID-19 vaccine. More than two-thirds of Congress received campaign funding from pharmaceutical companies in the 2020 election. Pfizer chairman Albert Bourla told Time magazine in July 2020 that his company was developing a COVID vaccine for the good of humanity, not for money. And of course, Pfizer made $100 billion in profit in 2022. When it came to the profits, they took the profits. When it came to the funding, you paid for the funding. All I'm querying is this.
Yes.
Is if you have an economic system in which pharmaceutical companies benefit hugely from medical emergencies, where a military-industrial complex benefits from war, where energy companies benefit from energy crises, you are going to generate states of perpetual crisis, where the interests of ordinary people separate from the interests of the elite.
I mean, that's an interesting theory there. A lot of people were splashing that up here on the conservative media sites, saying, this is exactly why they're coming after him. Big Pharma doesn't like it when you rattle their cage, and so they're going to attack you hard. There's a lot of conspiracy, I guess you could say conspiracy theories that have come up about all of this. But that's something you can't ignore. Nobody was coming after Russell Brand before, not at this level where they're smearing his entire career. And from what I'm understanding is that Russell Brand has now canceled a bunch of his stand-up shows and a lot of his appearances because of this event that's going on. And so if that's the case, this is really financially hurting him. And if you were being attacked by Russell Brand as a big mega corporation, isn't that the kind of result that you'd be looking for? Wouldn't you want to make other commenters and reporters and people like that, wouldn't you want to make them so afraid to attack you that they would just ignore everything that you're doing? Interesting theory in my book. because it leads into this next thing. Because right after Russell Brand all of a sudden is getting attacked, here we go, as the Gateway Pundit says. Sound of Freedom hero Tim Ballard accused of sexual misconduct days after announcing possible Senate run. Wow. Just all of a sudden, you know, like everybody is just some kind of sexual deviant. This guy made a living off of saving people, or saving children, not just people, but saving children from this kind of deviancy, and now they're wanting to accuse him of it. Now, I get it, believe all accusers and all of that stuff, but this seems to be like a common MO from the left. Whenever they get backed into a corner, they're like, well, he did this, you know, with no basis of evidence or fact. It's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. But the article says, you know, here we go. Sound of Freedom hero Tim Ballard's June resignation, removal from Operation Underground Railroad, was due to claims of sexual misconduct. Ballard recently said he is considering a run for Mitt Romney's Senate seat after the Utah Rhino announced his retirement. According to Vice News, at least 7 women have accused Ballard of sexual misconduct. Operation Underground Railroad told Vice News that Tim Ballard resigned on June 22, 2023. He has permanently separated from OUR. According to a letter published by Vice News, and our employee who accompanied Ballard on an undercover operation accused him of sexual harassment. Quote, several weeks ago, an OUR employee who accompanied Tim on an undercover operation filed a sexual harassment complaint against him with OUR's HR department. The July letter reads, quote, this resulted in an extensive internal investigation into Tim and his individual operational tactics and led to more women speaking up as part of the investigation process. Quote, it was ultimately revealed through disturbingly specific and parallel accounts that Tim has been deceitful and extensively grooming and manipulating multiple women for the past few years with the ultimate intent of coercing them to participate in sexual acts with him under a premise of going where it takes and doing whatever it takes to save a child. Y'all, I'm going to have to see some evidence on this one before I believe it, especially because it comes in right at the same time Russell Brand is being attacked. Excuse me. Sorry. This seems like whenever the left gets backed into a corner, this seems to be the way that they commonly attack people that they don't like. You know, we have 7 people out of nowhere that are saying that he was sexually harassing them. I'd like to know what the extent of the sexual harassment is. This article has a little bit more information on it. It seems extremely wild. I'll let you guys take your time, get into this article. I'm going to link it here. There's a video here about the sex allegations. I highly suggest you check this all out. Come up with your own opinion. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. But guys, like I said, I was going to try to make this one a quick one, but I swear I cannot get out of making 50-minute long episodes. And here we are. We just hit the 50-minute mark. So I'm going to put an end to this video right here. I appreciate it. If you've made it all the way to this point of the video, you're a superstar. And for everyone that has been watching my videos, I see it in the analytics. I love y'all. Like, thank you so much for helping me out by watching these videos. Please do remember to hit that like button down below. Ever since I started posting the links to the information that I'm reporting on, YouTube has throttled out my my channel. We got up to 170 something views on one of our episodes, and then right after, when I started posting these links, Now I'm only getting my regular friends and people that are really interested in this news. And when I go into the analytics to see if it's being recommended at the end of videos and things like that, the percentage is so small it doesn't matter anything. So if you can, please share this video out to the people you know. Let them know I'm being throttled. And on top of that, go to my Rumble page. As YouTube may throttle me down, but once Rumble starts seeing some attention on this, they're going to start circulating it, and Rumble's not going to throttle me because they don't like the things that I'm talking about. All I'm doing here is reporting what these different news agencies are saying and showing you what information I'm finding. I'm not telling you to think one way or another, but just talking about this stuff is very offensive to Google, YouTube, all of that stuff. And so they're going to try to do everything that they can to mute my voice. And like I said, if they ban me, I'm going to print that ban out and I'm going to put it right up here on the wall somewhere. Probably, was it right here in this section next to that painting back there? I'll have it nice and framed right there for you. But anyways, once again, thank you so much for making it this far. This is We Talk Freely. I post videos every other day. Keep an eye out for them. Share them out. Like them. Appreciate y'all. And until next episode on Wednesday, y'all stay safe.